Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham, no matter, will make more than a max contract in endorsements if they stay with the Fever. But Lexie Hull has been spotted back. This is a tweet from Birdology, and this is from obviously Lexie Hull's Instagram. Has Lexie Hull posted anything else on her Instagram?
Lexie Hull just walked into the Indiana Fever facility, and social media is absolutely melting down. But let's cut through the noise for a second, because what you're seeing isn't some casual off-season gym session. This is a high-stakes, franchise-shifting power play that could decide whether the Fever build a dynasty or fade into the background. Let's get one thing straight. We're not hoping Lexie Hull comes back. We're operating like her return is already locked in. And if that sounds cocky, it's only because you haven't been paying attention to the economics. The WNBA would rather you not realize this. But Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham stand to make way more money staying in Indiana next to Caitlin Clark than they'd ever sniff from a max contract somewhere else. This isn't about a slightly bigger salary. This is about life-changing endorsement money, generational wealth versus nice raise. And for anyone in the comments gearing up with lectures about loyalty or culture, let's be adults. This is pro sports. Players have maybe a decade to secure their financial future. You really think they're choosing a rebuild in a random market over the Caitlin Clark economy? Be serious. Birdology caught Lexie on Instagram inside the Fever facility with trainers Keith Porter and Rob Dozier. Rob's messing around with trick shots, Lexie's fully locked in, and the internet is treating it like a routine off-season grind. It's not. It's Lexie Hull announcing her intentions. She's sending a message to every other GM in the league. I'm staying where the money is. I'm staying where the lights shine brightest. I'm staying where championships are built. Now, let's address the part nobody wants to bring up. Keith Porter is still in a walking boot 3 months after tearing his Achilles. 3 months. That's not great. An Achilles tear is a monster injury. A 9 to 12 month recovery timeline. Being in a boot this far in, something doesn't add up. I've torn my Achilles. I finished college graduation wearing that boot. I developed a pulmonary embolism that slowed down my recovery. So I'm not guessing here, but seeing Keith still strapped into that thing raises real questions. Questions about the Fever's medical timeline. Questions about whether players are being pushed too fast. But let's swing back to Lexie, because this is where things get interesting. The fact she's back in Indy, working hand in hand with Fever staff, massively boosts the odds she isn't going anywhere. That's not speculation, that's how this league works. Players who spend their offseason in the building almost never bolt in free agency. You know who we aren't seeing at the facility? Brianna Turner. And before Turner supporters jump in, I actually think she still has a real shot at returning, but the reality is hard to ignore. No daily training facility content, no consistent work with team staff, no signs she's embedded the same way. That tells you everything about who the Fever are prioritizing. Turner averaged 10.4 points in Australia with the Perth Lynx. Solid? Sure. Dominant? Not exactly. And yes, defense is her calling card, but the modern WNBA demands two-way value. Lexie Hull brings something you can't drill into a player. You can't coach that level of hustle. You can't manufacture her all-out toughness. You can't teach a player to sacrifice their body for every loose ball, every charge, every scrap possession that swings momentum. Does that mean she has to be a starter? That's where it gets tricky. If you ask me straight up who the better all-around player is, Lexie Hull or Sophie Cunningham, the answer is Sophie. That's not controversial. She's the more refined scorer, the steadier defender, the cleaner decision maker. But this is where Lexie creates separation. As a defensive specialist, Lexie Hull is elite at one thing in particular: drawing charges. That's her superpower. Can she lock up Ryan Howard or Kalia Copper in isolation? Absolutely not. Those players will torch almost anyone with pure speed, and Lexie isn't built to slide with them step for step. That's why Kelsey Mitchell ends up taking those matchups. But if you're a guard who loves using screens, thrives on physicality, leans into contact, Lexie Hull is your worst nightmare. She'll bait you into 2 offensive fouls before halftime, knock you off rhythm, and crawl into your head until you're thinking more about her positioning than your own game plan. That kind of disruption, you can't teach it. Remember that playoff game against Atlanta? Lexie sealed the win with the defensive stop of the night. Plays like that don't show up in headlines until they swing a postseason series. Now, let me be honest, no one actually knows how vital a defensive instigator like Lexie is to winning a title. The WNBA doesn't have enough historical data to map out the exact formula. But here's what is clear. If you value that type of defensive chaos, there is nobody in the league who does it better than Lexie Hull. Sophie Cunningham, on the other hand, is a completely different defender. She's a wall. She stays disciplined, forces you to work for every look, and rarely takes risks. But she doesn't have the foot speed to erase elite shot creators either. Two defenders, two styles, both useful depending on the matchup. Honestly, I wouldn't complain about a rotation where either one of them starts at the 3 based on the opponent. That's a problem any team would love to have. But here's the bigger truth. The Fever's priority isn't choosing between Lexie and Sophie. The priority is keeping the entire core intact. Sophie, Lexie, Caitlin Clark, Aliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell. Those 5 players are the blueprint of a dynasty. Lose even one, and everything becomes unstable. And yes, keep KK Hammond too. She might not see the floor much next season, but upside matters in this league. Once those 6 are secured, then Indiana can go hunting. Then they can spend whatever it takes to land a legitimate power forward. Someone who can battle inside. Someone who can defend Brianna Stewart and Aja Wilson without getting bullied. With that missing piece, the Fever instantly become real championship threats. Without it, they're one Natasha Howard performance away from heartbreak. Because, let's be honest, Alyssa Thomas absolutely dominated her in the playoffs. That matchup wasn't close. Indiana is one upgrade at power forward from being the favorites to win it all next year. Just one. And the reason they could actually pull it off isn't just talent, it's continuity, chemistry, a core that's been through postseason fights together and understands what winning takes. That's why Lexie Hull showing up at the Fever facility is not just good news, it's critical. It's the difference between maximizing Caitlin Clark's prime or wasting it. And here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to voice. Caitlin Clark is on a clock. She has maybe 5 years before the league adapts to her, before mileage and injuries start to creep in, before the window shifts. 5 years to build a roster good enough to win it all. Indiana doesn't have the luxury of slow development. They have to move now. Re-sign Lexie now. Get that power forward now, because if they wait until Caitlin's entering her physical prime, it'll already be too late to start constructing the house around her. This offseason decides the next decade of Fever basketball, and Lexie Hull working out in Indianapolis? That's the first domino falling exactly where it needs to. Is it a guarantee she stays? Of course not. Free agency is unpredictable. Agents negotiate. Teams come calling. Nothing is official until pen hits paper. But if I'm an Indiana fan, I'm breathing easier tonight because Lexie choosing to spend her offseason in the building matters. Presence matters. Proximity matters. The bonds you build with staff and teammates in the offseason heavily influence where you sign once the offers roll in. And Lexie Hull is building those ties in Indiana right now. So let me put it to you, is Lexie Hull staying with the Fever, or is this just smoke before she signs elsewhere? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your take. And if you think the Fever are on the brink of a dynasty, hit that subscribe button. This WNBA offseason is about to get wild, and Lexie Hull's decision might be the spark that changes everything.